I provide customer service that is very quick. I respond very quickly,
Hmm.
and I get told all the time how much they appreciate that. They're not waiting for answers. If they're looking for a product, I kind of stop what I'm doing and I go look and stuff like that. If something's late or whatever. But the customer service is the biggest part. That's the way my parents taught me. They love to see a video of how it works, because if you don't have the show to rely on yet or whatever, they'll come and play with it at the show. But they love to see a YouTube video. Oh my gosh, like it in action.
Yeah.
That is 100%. I totally forgot to mention that. But they love to see what it's going to do. You could tell them it'll clamp the 5-piece door 100 a day or whatever. If you send them a video of a guy loading it and seeing how easy it is and changing it, oh, forget it.
It's sold. Yeah. Welcome to Manufacturing Insiders. Today I have Bryan Smith with me, and he is with JLT Sales. They specialize in manufacturing products for woodworking, and I'll let Bryan talk a little bit more about that. But Bryan's got a lot of experience in the sales space, and the company itself has a product that almost sells itself, but he finds some ways to amp it up a little bit more. So welcome to Manufacturing Insiders, Bryan.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. So tell me a little bit about the company and what products are you promoting?
James L. Taylor's been incorporated since 1911, so we have a good legacy of products that have been developed since that time. We originally started with basic wood clamps, the old screw style.
Yep.
In northern New Jersey, and then it moved up into the Poughkeepsie area soon after, and basically been in Poughkeepsie for now it's over 80 some years. And James Taylor has grown quite a bit. We were only known for being in factories for the longest time, and our claim to fame is basically automating the chairback furniture business in the Carolinas and other places as well. And that's where it kind of started to grow. But the division that I work for specifically is JLT, which is JLT Clamps. And that's our quote unquote blue line, which is sold to small to medium sized shops. And that started in the late 90s, 1990s. And it's been going quite well.
Yeah.
Originally, they thought they would run out of shops to sell to, but obviously that didn't happen because
Nope.
it's well built equipment. It's built up in Poughkeepsie, so American made, pretty much 100%. And so it's just been growing, changing. We've been adding stuff just to keep ahead of a growing shop.
Yeah, we noticed last time we chatted that there's kind of a cool connection. One of my existing customers, Allegheny Woodworks, they make hardwood doors. They're on your customer list as well, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So yeah, that's cool. So how long you been doing sales with JLT?
I've been with James Taylor for 5 years now. And previous to that, I was selling them all their pneumatic components for about 20. So I've known the company for a long time, and specifically more the buyer side. But we've been acquaintances for quite a long time.
Gotcha. And are you the sole sales arm in JLT, or is it or do you have a district or a zone?
No, I actually handle all the JLT clamps items for the entire world, I guess you would say.
Okay.
That leaves our 4 other regional sales managers to concentrate more. They still sell JLT, but they concentrate more on the Taylor line, which is our green line, our Cameron automation line, which is more of a gray color, and then we have a new one called the Ultimizers, which complements our saws, which is in the Cameron hood. But we have 4 basic divisions under James L. Taylor Manufacturing.
Gotcha. Okay. So global. So how many countries are represented in that global market?
I've talked to probably a dozen or so, but Michael, the owner, has traveled to a lot of the places before the internet was alive. So we have stuff around the world. I'm a little more specialized on the JLT side because we have clamp carriers all over the world, which is kind of more common, and I don't really come across those as much.
Yeah.
But the JLT stuff ends up. Our biggest dealer is probably in the UK. We have one in Australia that I speak to on and off, and they're the one in the UK kind of tends to kind of take care of Europe, I guess, in a way. They actually have some stock over there, which is nice. They fill a container. So, we try to keep it up, but the cost is prohibitive sometimes on the freight. So they'll get something that's European made versus us, but we have presence there.
Right. Okay. Yeah, and what I've heard recently, which it kind of surprised me. I mean, I guess I don't know that it surprised me, but China evidently has a huge woodworking market. Like they're kind of in an architectural phase where they're really liking, solid wood, hardwood sort of furniture and accessories and things like that. I guess my assumption is they probably would manufacture their own clamps, but do you see any market there?
No, nothing's ever shipped to China that I know of.
Okay.
Um, we do have a clamp carrier that looks like ours that is made in China. So I'm not sure if
They copied
maybe
they
they're
copied your designs.
yeah, it's a long story. But there is one out there called the Quick, and it's not a hidden thing. And they're around. I think his location is out on the West Coast, out in Washington State or something like that. But they'll
Okay.
look like ours. So we get calls sometimes because people kind of get them mixed up.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your experience in in doing sales for JLT. What have you noticed anything about their process that you were really impressed with? Other than just having a really good quality product, do you think that there's anything JLT's doing or James Taylor's doing that's just really knocking it out of the park with sales? Because you guys are doing really well. You're making a lot of sales, right?
Yes. Yes. We've been very blessed ever since I've been on, since really pretty much when we had the pandemic issue. It's going to be a thing in history, but um, basically the way it rolled in is that we make a quality product. Our reputation is long standing, and we're such a seniority driven company that we actually get first pick of locations at the IWF show.
Okay.
So that's how long we've been in business. But we have the reputation's been built wonderfully with generations past, and it's kind of just continued through with the family, the Burns family. And so it's kind of I can't say an easy sell, but we overbuild the product on purpose. We're not without our issues, but basically, it really sells itself, and it's very niche oriented. So if you want to clamp a 5-piece door, that's all it does. It's not going to be like a pegboard machine where it does multiple things. It's just a thing where a shop wants to get, but some shops don't use them every day, so it's kind of like a wish list thing usually.
Mm-hmm.
But once a guy gets that order that says this is going to pay for the machine, they get it. They call you with a credit card and they want it now. And so our sales model is to have our basic shop essentials, we call it, a drawer clamp, door clamp, and a panel clamp. The basic size is ready to ship so they can have it within a couple days. That's just plain and simple. And it's been working since that pandemic time where people weren't going on vacation and they just put money into their house.
Yep.
And the only thing I will say to add to this is that I've noticed a lot more feedback from some guys where since they've had to stay home, they actually built a shop out back of their house.
Right. Yep.
And they started doing better with that than their regular job. And they
Yep.
enjoyed it more.
Yep.
And some guys were doing both. So
Yeah.
it's been interesting these last few years. So now I actually had to add a residential check mark on my leads so that I know where the product's going, because it's just easier for the delivery and stuff just to get it right from the start. But it's
Right.
amazing. Some of the guys are very talented in this country.
Yeah,
In
I
the
mean,
world.
I've seen a lot of them pop up. Even guys that are doing like those epoxy finished wood slab tables.
Oh, beautiful.
I've seen, like somebody start a super successful like handmade knife business, and then he bought a CNC machine, and then he's really killing it with that. But yeah,
Hmm.
you did see a lot of that pop up, which I think is cool. I mean, not that there was really anything cool about that period of time, but it is kind of cool that it gave people a chance to like unplug a little bit
Hmm.
and maybe get back to their hobbies, whether it be hiking or
Work with your
doing
hands.
something outdoors. So I think anything that forces people to do that is great, but certainly never want to see that sort of government oppression again.
Right.
But
It worked well though. I have to say there's some seriously talented people out there that just women too. I mean they just bring the art out and they're making beautiful furniture, beds, tables, cutting boards was a huge one.
yeah,
Um, just just beautiful stuff.
yeah. So with your experience in your previous job, I kind of want to hear. You've been in sales for a long time. I kind of want to hear from the lens of a salesperson who's listening to this. What do you think is the most important thing a salesperson can do when they're representing a product?
Um, know it well enough to not get yourself in trouble. That's kind of
Sure.
funny. But the biggest thing is know enough to make sure that you can convey yourself as a confident person.
Yep.
And then the other side of it is that um, I provide. This might not answer your question well, but I provide customer service that is very quick. I respond very quickly,
Hmm.
and I get told all the time how much they appreciate that. They're not waiting for answers. If they're looking for a product, I kind of stop what I'm doing and I go look and stuff like that. If something's late or whatever. But the customer service is the biggest part. That's the way my parents taught me. Make sure you
Sure.
take care of the small business, the big business, whatever. No matter if it's a small little bag of fittings all the way up to a big order. Just make sure you don't forget anyone. That's the simplest thing I could say.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think what the caveat to that is the
Hmm.
more busy you get, and I experience this in my own business, the more busy you get, the more inquiries you get, the more difficult it becomes to provide that level of customer service. So, how do you navigate that?
Um, just I guess it's just about trying to be efficient. If I get a really long string of leads, sometimes what I'll have to do is instead of actually entering this is like might be a long answer, but instead of like entering the address into the system and all that good stuff, because I'm a little slow, I'm not the best typer and all that, but basically I'll just send a generic email just to get them started and ask
Hmm.
them, hey, and this happens when I come back from IWF. I get so many leads that I can't do them all.
Yeah.
So long story short, I'll just send them an email and say, hey, if you want a more formal quote, fire back and we'll keep this conversation going. But all I'll do is get them a general note. Love, I'm so happy I met you or came to the show. Send them a spec sheet on what they were looking for, just to plant the seed.
Right.
And then you just throw a little water on it each time. If you have time to follow up, which I really don't usually, you kind of just make sure that they get at least started, because most customers are kind of, these guys are usually pretty smart. They'll plan ahead almost a year, 6 months. They'll know they got this coming down the pipe, and they just want to get the information as quick as possible. They don't want me calling them. I'll be honest with you. A lot of them don't say don't call, just email me, in their notes stuff. So I
Right.
understand that, and I don't want to be kind of hassled either. But um, it's a pretty simple decision because, like I said, our machines are very specialized and they fit where they fit, and resale value is good on them when they're used, and so these guys know they're pretty much gonna and get their money back on their investment if they do change or get bigger or expand, whatever. So
Right. Right.
yeah, I have to say it's pretty nice doing that, but if the housing market slows, then we slow. So there's a lot of factors there, and I've been very fortunate not to have to deal with that yet.
Right. Yeah, I wonder. The housing market has been slow in the past couple of years because the prices are astronomical. I know so many people that are looking for a house, but they're like, we just can't afford anything right now. I wonder what's going to change in the next year or so here. Do you have any kind of like speculation about, whether the tariffs or interest rates or any of that might have an impact on the housing market?
It it looks good. I mean, I'm still having a great month, but like that affects some of our bigger machines, which is not the stuff that I sell, because our larger machines are a little slow right now. But they just come. It just comes in waves, depending on what, like you said, what the market's doing. But overall, um, people need to keep their houses up. So a lot of these guys are doing built-ins. They're doing benches. They're doing entertainment centers. They're doing they're doing the cutting boards. And it just, I just know I can't even tell you how many customers call me and they're doing 200-300 doors a day. That's a
Hmm.
lot of kitchens, and that's one company in the country.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there's still, people are still putting money to their house, but maybe those people, like you said, are looking for a house. They're, some people are deciding to stay. People are keeping their cars longer. I know that's a different topic, but they're staying in their houses and they're making the best of it and just putting money into the house because you're usually going to get it back.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's a good point. Yeah,
it's
just to,
almost a win-win in a way. You can cheat your money a little bit if the interest rates are bad, but if people are getting paid in a way, they're going to want to, you know, is it better sitting in the bank making 0.5%, or are you going to put it in your house and enjoy something nice? It's
right.
my wife and I talk about it all the time. It's just hard to decide.
Yeah. Yeah, so it sounds like you guys are kind of diversified. So like one segment of the business might be down, another one might be up.
Correct.
Yeah, that's
It,
great. That's
yeah,
really really smart.
JLT was, like I said, a surprise because they thought they were going to just run out of people to sell to. But it's been very fortunate to the point where now our door clamp can turn into something that's larger, that can go in, that can convert into a larger output machine. Panel clamps can turn into we call it the foot in the door product. Our sales guys could start with JLT with a lousy panel clamp, and before you know it, the guy's buying a full blown rotisserie Taylor clamp carrier.
Yeah.
And the companies love that we can take the clamps from the panel clamp and change the back plates and throw them right into a rotisserie, and it saves them money, saves them a ton of money. So
Right.
everything's expandable. Like our clamp carriers, you can add sections to it and upgrade the front ends and all that kind of good stuff to make it more automated. It's pretty cool. I mean, um, I have to say, they've been trying to think of every option to help a shop grow and stay with us. So
Hmm.
that's kind of a good, model to have, I guess. But been very, very smart figuring that stuff out.
Yeah. Before you mentioned kind of having that really good product knowledge in order to be an effective salesperson, which I completely agree with. Um, is there what's when you add a product to the product line, or maybe even when you were coming on board, did you need to use these products? Were they like, all right, go down to the shop, I want you to actually use these, see how they work and all of that, so that way you have a really good understanding and can sell it to the customer?
It's a combination, but honestly, Nate, most of the time we have a cool cabinet shop down the street. And you call them up and say, "Hey, I got something for you to try," and then you roll
Yeah.
down there. I picked up a door clamp that was one of our first prototypes, and boy, that thing was like welded and bolted together. And I brought it back, but they give us some real good, honest feedback. We have some other people like literally in the spread out through the country, big, small, medium, and they're always willing to try stuff. It's really kind of fun.
That's really smart. Yeah, to kind of have that partner shop that you can go
Yeah,
try things out with, and
yeah. I
yeah,
mean,
that's really smart.
some of. I'll be honest with you, because it's a second generation family now that owns them. But there's some seriously friends that have business with us. They're like literally friends. They get invited
Hmm.
to go to big events with them.
Yeah.
It's a there's some seriously strong customers that we have that have been with us for long generations. There's third generation people. fourth generation, I think sometimes. So I don't know quite about four, but there's a long legacy on some of these companies.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I love that. I'm the same way in my business. I'm actually friends with a lot of my customers as well. I like to work with people that I like, you know, that I agree
Yeah,
with.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. It's fun.
So you have a lot of success at these trade shows. Um, generating massive lead lists from them. I would assume that's not the case for every company that goes to a trade show. In fact, I know that that's not the case for every company that goes to a trade show.
Mm-mm.
What's the difference?
Well, I'll probably start with from what I was told with the one of the salesmen that retired recently about a year ago. He told me that before the internet, trade shows were the bomb. He was going to one every month, and
Right,
that was and actually even Michael recently told me, the owner Michael Burtis, that he should travel the world to show off our products because there's no other way to show them.
right,
And so, long story short, there's only a couple big shows that are still holding the ground. I have one this year that's in Las Vegas, the AWFS show.
okay,
But the big four, we call them the big four, pulled out of that show already. So that show seems to be dying, but I'm not going to say that. Don't take my word for that. But we're still going, but we're shrinking down our booth. We'll still make a presence. But the big show is IWF in Atlanta in July, and that's every other year. So, but the guys still like to come out and touch the stuff. It's one of those industries where you need to touch it. But to go back to what our retired salesman told me, was basically a lot of those shows just died off, or a dealer is just going to do something called an open house. That's what they've really been calling, and that's for like a lot of local people. So we'll get invited to those, sparingly, and there's a few that I do still that are still worthwhile with certain. We're very strong with the Amish community still, so that's a show that we definitely attend because they're more, they want to see it because you need to be in person with them.
right.
And so we obviously cater to that. And so it's just a matter of, like I said, the guys will come to the big Atlanta show and they want to see what the latest and greatest is, and then they'll plant a seed with us, and or with everybody, with the CNC machines, or with the molders, routers, whatever, edge banders, and then they'll start a relationship. And then a lot of times, Nate, you'll click, because they won't be talking to you on the phone or an email, because you don't know what I look like or who I am on my email. So at a show, they're like, "Oh my gosh, it's so nice to meet you. I talked to you
Yeah,
how many times?" And, "Oh wow, this is great. You're bigger than I thought you were." And I'm joking, but stuff like that. So it's nice, and you joke around, and you can get a little personal about it. And you got to have a little bit of gift of gab. I mean, that sounds like an old school kind of saying, but you know, I enjoy the shows. They were overwhelming at first. I know what to expect now, but the IWF show is definitely busy. Oh my goodness gracious, it is wall to wall people. So that is some show.
so you think that a lot of these the leads that you're getting from the show are kind of people that have already been aware of you, but now they actually get to, see your face, talk to you a little bit? Or are they new people? Like, I'm just kind of trying to feel out, like, how do you draw attention to yourself in these shows? Like, say you're a company that has a great product and you're going to be going to your first show. What do you need to do?
Um, be honest with you, we don't really chase anybody down. We just advertise with an email blast that we're going. We're on the vendor list, and then it lists what you have. So behind the scenes, that they promote, the show does the promotion of you, where you're going to be. We try to get on the main aisle. Um, a lot of times people see us because you get on the list. Like, from what customers are telling me, they make a hit list because it's such a big show. They'll say, they have XYZ amount of money, and they say, this is what I'm going to go. My goals are at the show this year.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll stop and see those specifically, and then wander around on what else they're looking to do or upgrade their shop equipment. And
Gotcha.
so, um, that's how the show goes, because that way they can go see 3 or 4 CNC machines. I'm just using that as another example, and go through demos with each one of them because the regional sales guys versus me, I'll just show a quick JLT, which is usually 5-10 minutes. I can demo it or whatever. But some of the stuff, other stuff we have is time. They'll make appointments with customers,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll spend time with them, and then that's where it grows from there. Some of the big projects, they'll take years to develop. I mean, I'm sure you've been down that road where they've talked on and off for a year or two, and then they're finally ready to do it or whatever. JLT is a completely different animal just because of the size of the purchase. It's more or less, I'm planning ahead. I got a big order of doors coming. I need door clamp now. Let's go, like I said before. It's just a totally different animal. But there's some guys that'll take time because they don't like to take credit out and stuff, which I understand. But
Yeah.
I always tell them, I'm here. Not going to hassle you. Call me when you're ready. So
Yeah, definitely a low pressure sales kind of setup you guys have. I just forgot the question I was going to ask you. What's the price point of the products?
usually my average sale is about 6,000.
Okay. And like how many door clamps are we talking?
It depends on the month, but transaction wise, I'll sell 20 to 25 machines a month, something like that,
Okay.
of varying stuff, and some take longer to make. Some, some we have, some we don't.
Okay. And
Just,
so if
just my
somebody
side.
does that average $6,000 purchase, what kind of throughput can they do with their door manufacturing?
This that's a funny question because I was actually pretty amazed. So with a door clamp, the 26 by 62, which will make out like your normal size cabinet doors. I was sorry pointing to my kitchen, but they basically, if you have a guy that's pinning a door, which is basically building the door backwards and then gluing it and then putting nails in it
Okay.
without leaving it sit in the clamp, you could do over 100 a day
Wow.
if you have the parts. Now, the smaller shops don't like pinning much anymore. It kind of comes in waves. A lot of guys call pinning, cheap. I don't want to offend anybody, but a more quality door, wouldn't be pinned. So they'll have to leave it in the clamp about, depending on humidity, maybe a half hour,
Okay.
and then they could take it back out and load another one. So, you could figure out by math how long that's going to take.
Okay.
So,
And you're just putting one door in this machine at a time?
you could tend, the small one tends to be one door, or if it's a smaller door, you could double up, like height wise. You could do it a whole kind of a
So
bunch of different ways.
it's clamping in a square. It's clamping all sides of it.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So you really can't stack them on top of each other. They have to be, from top down or side,
Right.
depending on which way the style's getting pushed into the rail. But
Okay.
and then we have bigger ones. We have a double door, which is kind of cool. You could do two doors at one time, and then the center bar comes out. So you take the two pins out and you lift it out, and then you can do a taller, like pantry size door, which is like up to 96 inches tall in there.
Gotcha.
And so our claim to fame is like quick changeover. So I was using that example of the cabinet shop near us up in Poughkeepsie, and they do theirs by job. So all the doors and stuff are on a cart. So the guy wheels the cart over, and then he'll build multiple size doors. So our claim to fame is making a door that's 12 inches or 18 inches, and then you can go jump right up to a 30-inch door
Mm-hmm.
with just pulling a pin and rolling it over and clicking it back in and then clamping. It's awesome. It's so fast, and they love it. They love being able to go that fast.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't like. I'm trying to like picture all this in my head, but I almost picture you're using the machine to do the initial clamping, but then it'd be cool if like it had a removable part that you could take that door out, set it aside, put the clamp back in, and do a new door. You know what I'm
Almost
saying?
like leaving it in the mold.
Right. So that way you're not waiting that half hour. You're just
Yeah, there's some guys that'll do like I was mentioning a panel clamp that has clamps on it. some guys will do doors in that panel clamp because you can do them all, a lot of them at the same time.
Uh-huh.
The problem is that the panel clamp doesn't square the door automatically.
I see. Yeah.
But what guys will do is, you're on the right track though, is they'll make them about 1/8 inch big. Then they'll take them and square them on a saw.
I see.
And so some guys like doing it that way too, and they find it that it works that way too. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Huh.
And just so you know, there's also a glue that'll dry in a minute. They say it's so fast you can't get it together fast enough. But most
That's
guys don't do that.
which yeah, I would kind of expect that sort of innovation would be there. Yeah.
Oh, I heard this. Franklin Adhesives makes one. I think it's called Assembly 72 or something. And they said if you're not careful, you could almost drop a part on the floor by accident and pick it up, and it'll already be hard, and you're like, oh god, just throw it away.
That's too
It's so.
fast.
They said it's so fast, but they say it's good glue if you're doing something repetitive that you really got to do fast. I don't know, but
Yeah.
there's some good glue out there. We're a type on 2 people. That's what we always tell people if they call. But there's others out there.
Yeah. So other than kind of the trade shows and your normal sales process, is there anything else that you feel has made you successful as as a salesperson? Anything from a managerial side of things, or from a organizational side of things? Any tools that you're using? I know I just threw a lot at you, but just anything that comes to mind.
So you're saying sales tools to help me sell?
Yeah, just anything that makes you more efficient, anything that makes you a better salesperson that you think other people might think would be cool.
Um, Not really. I've been kind of a lone ranger for a while because I was on a straight commission job before I got this one. This one's like a hybrid commission based thing. Um, it's just trying to get your efficiency good, to use your time efficiently, so you're kind of not spending not wasting your time. I guess it is. Um, there's definitely an organizational concept to selling, is
Yeah.
being organized and making sure your time is spent um, selling and not chasing.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if that makes sense, if I'm trying to convey my thought process correctly, but um,
Yeah.
I've been, the 5 years, like I mentioned, it really hasn't been very slow for me to have to sit down and thankfully call people and all that stuff, which really is hard.
Hmm.
Um, you know, if they're not going to buy, they're really not going to buy something like mine.
Right.
Like I said, the bigger projects, more of a follow up. Let's keep things moving. Stay in front of them. Blah blah blah. But the one thing I did notice about woodworkers is they really like to know, like, kind of what the new next gadget is. Like I mentioned about shows,
Hmm.
and so we're trying to do more email blasts to keep them up. Like, we just came out with new clamps. Some of the guys are like, "Ooh, those are cool." You get that whole reaction kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so uh, we're trying to keep that in front of people. There are people that don't like the email blast because, like, it's a waste of my time. But a lot of those guys like to see that stuff. So I try to put that information in my quotes. And the other thing I will say is, in the woodworking business, they love to see a video of how it works, because if you don't
Yeah.
have the show to rely on yet or whatever, they'll come and play with it at the show. But they love to see a YouTube video. Oh my gosh, like it in action.
Yeah.
That is 100%. I totally forgot to mention that. But they love to see what it's going to do. You could tell them it'll clamp the 5-piece door 100 a day or whatever. If you send them a video of a guy loading it and seeing how easy it is and changing it, oh, forget it.
It's
Love it.
sold. Yeah.
I
Do
forgot
you
to
guys
mention
have a
this.
pretty strong YouTube channel?
We do not. We kind of did, but they're all old. We just haven't had time to get back. We have a new marketing guy, so we're hoping to kind of redo a lot of those, because we're falling behind, and even the music's getting kind of hokey. So
Yeah. That
but
1990s look too.
yeah, it's just kind of tough.
Yeah.
But that's another one where I will say, and the shorter the better. You know how it is with Instagram Reels.
Yep.
I will say shorter the better, and they can get it quick, move on. And I'm sure you probably know that too.
Yep. Yeah, I
Attention
agree.
span's not there with the as we change.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you guys are doing great. You got it all figured out for the most part. The one thing I noticed just kind of looking at what you got from the website side of things, because that's kind of my area of expertise. And you already said you guys are almost getting more leads than you know what to do with, but you certainly could get more leads if you did think about search engine optimization a little bit, because there's just not really a lot of that on the website. Just getting in front of people who might not already know about your product but are googling terms like door clamps and things like that.
Right.
So just something to think about. If you want any other info on that, feel free to reach out to me.
Yeah, I'll have to get you hooked up with Steve, our marketing guy.
Yeah, I definitely could give him some tips that I think would help quite a bit.
Yeah, that might help because I think you might have corresponded with him a little bit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. And he's, like I said, he's been there only a few months, but
Yep.
we needed someone to take it over because we wear a lot of hats there. So
Sure. Well, hey, I appreciate your time today on the podcast, and I think that your experience is definitely going to be valuable to some of our listeners. And I appreciate everything that you shared about what's working for you guys. And obviously nobody can replicate the 1911 start, but there are some other things certainly people could take home.
yeah, no, thank you very much for having me. And it's a pleasure to work at Taylor. I enjoy selling something that you can be confident about.
Right.
And I can't say that enough. And I can never say I know everything about everything, but it is a good product to sell, and I can feel good about sending it to a guy, and it's going to do what it's supposed to do.
Yeah, and that's great for a salesperson. I
Yeah,
mean, if you can
definitely.
trust the product that you're selling, that's
Yeah.
no better feeling, no easier sale. All right. Well, hey, thanks a lot for joining, and look forward to chatting with you in the near future here.
Awesome. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Brian.